This treasure, now let's look back at this verse. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. This word hidden is not there because there's something wrong with the kingdom of heaven, or that the kingdom of heaven is something you can't find or you can't experience. This word hidden there, it's treasure hidden in a field, because in their culture they had this commonplace people, the people that Jesus is talking to, average people, didn't have access to banks. The first century they did have banks, but normal commonplace people didn't have access to banks. So when they had something that was so valuable that they didn't want it to be stolen away, or they didn't want it to be, because wars would break out, especially in this area, a lot during that time. So if they had something they wanted to save for their family, kind of their nest egg, if you will, they would bury it in the ground. It had distinct value to it. In fact, Josephus, the early first century historian, Josephus says this. He talks about the gold and silver and the rest of that most precious furniture which the Jews had and which the owners treasured up. He says they put it underground against the uncertain fortunes of war. Wars breaking out, different things, and not having the securities or those type. When someone who was average, commonplace, these people that Jesus was talking to, when they had something of distinct value that wasn't commonplace, value that they needed to save that up, they would hide it underground. Remember the parable of the talents? Remember that? The master's going to leave. He gives 5 talents to one, 2 talents to another, 1 talent to another. Remember that last guy? What did he do with that 1 talent? He buried it, right? Remember? He buried that. People listening to that parable would go, oh, that makes sense, right? He was just being real conservative, and he was making sure that nothing would happen to that talent. So he put it underground. They would bury it. It has distinct value. It's not commonplace. This isn't something, this treasure, when he came upon this treasure, it didn't say in verse 44, when this man came upon this treasure, this normal guy working a field who could use probably a little bit of a cash flow. He could use a few extra denarius in his account. As he hits that treasure and he comes around and he uncovers it and he sees it, he didn't have thoughts of eBay, right, and Craigslist, and how can I turn this around and maybe profit off of this. There was no thought of that. This treasure had distinct value. It had uncommon value. It wasn't something that he was going to take down to the local pawn shop to make a buck on. There's value to this. Uncommon value. Inconceivable value to this treasure.